Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Lumineers Quest podcast, where we talk everything Lorcana. I'm Zach.
You were gonna do it. I could see your mouth opening. You were gonna do it. I'm Jacob. But
thanks for coming on this journey with us. I almost did, but we're past the set now of the release of the Lumineers Quest.
Okay, when it comes back eventually, we're bringing it back.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. Yeah, this is the end of chapter 4. It felt like it came just flashed at me, and it's like the end of the season now, or the end of set, end of season, end of chapter, end of.
See, this one, I have the exact opposite thought. I think it's slogged.
Oh, I don't think so.
Not in a bad way necessarily, but I just think it lasted a lot longer.
I don't think so. This past 6 weeks of championships.
Let me say this:
championships.
You've been a lot busier in the Lorcana world than I have been as of late.
Yeah, but it's not even about that. It's just the amount of stuff that's been the amount of tournaments we've been playing, the amount of prep that's been going on, the amount of growth that the local league is seeing. We can have a whole episode about that.
League talk. Yeah.
But yeah, today we are talking DLC, Disney Lorcana Challenge, Fort Worth, Texas.
All right. Are you ready for my introduction?
Just do it. Just get it over with.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the best player in Arkansas, top 16, owner of a mat and going to North American Championships, Zach.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. I think most people. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many people that listen follow me on X/Twitter at LorcanaPod. Shameless plug to get that in first. I obviously had a lot of the weekend festivities logged on there, but it still doesn't feel real. But I did make it to Worlds or to Nationals. I got my invite. I finished top 16. I did it somehow. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because it's I think there's a lot of details that I don't want to get into specifics about the games, but I just want to talk about the overall experience, some of the things that kind of led to this happening, how it all happened, and so forth. So yeah, that's the episode today. And I mean, you obviously followed along, but you don't have much of the details, I doubt. So
yeah, I mean, we'll get into why I wasn't there.
Yeah, well, I didn't even mean that, but yeah, Jake unfortunately couldn't come from family, outbreak.
we got sick pretty bad.
So unfortunately Jake couldn't go. But anyways, that's what we're talking about this week. We're recapping the top 16 run for Dallas Fort Worth challenge.
Even some of the commentators called it Dallas. So
yeah, I mean, that's just what we call it where we're from. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it, because there's a ton of stuff to talk about today. We're going to, I think, probably preview a little bit of Shimmering Skies. There's been tons and tons of releases recently.
Let's do it.
While I imagine we have a special episode on Thursday, if you're listening to this on opening day, to recap all of the new Shimmering Skies stuff that's come out. Because there has been a lot.
Jeez, that's a long video right there.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll have, a separate one for that for sure. But anyways, yeah, let's jump into it. As always, everyone, if you want to support the podcast, support us, the best way to do so is through our TCG Player affiliate link. Any singles that you want to buy through TCG Player, we have an affiliate link in the description below, wherever you're watching / listening on our X/Twitter account. And that helps us out the most. And then if you want to follow along with the festivities and get some spoilers and how everything's going, like the people that have, you can follow us at LorcanaPod on X/Twitter, and you can email the show at lorcanapod at gmail.com.
Alrighty.
So yeah, questions / comments from listeners. First off, I have to give Zach a shout out, not myself. There's a new league Zach, and he emailed the show trying to be coy about it. But we figured it out that it was him, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Just you can ask me, you're here, in person, you can ask me. But he asked about how to kind of find your style, is the way that I interpreted it. How to find your what's your play type.
Your play style?
Yeah. New to TCGs, so kind of new to the whole scene, like we were way back when. It's a lot harder now. I would have said test online.
Yep.
Just kind of figure out what you like to do. But that's honestly the best advice I can give you is play a bunch of different things. You don't necessarily have to be.
If your friends have decks that you can borrow, do that as well.
Yeah.
Just you maybe not buy them or something like that right away if you're not going to use them. If that's not your play type.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I think just, and I was going to say it doesn't have to be the most meta deck of that play type, but, put together a bounce deck with, Ruby, Amethyst, or put together a discard deck with Emerald, or put together a more control deck with Sapphire or a ramp deck with Sapphire that gets, the different kind of mechanics and see how you like to play. But yeah, you really just honestly have to play. And I guess for anybody else out there that's new-ish to the scene as well, yeah, just test and play and have fun and tweak, constantly kind of, shift cards in and out to see what you like and what you don't. But there's really no straight answer aside from, everybody's different, and so I can't like give you advice on like what you would like, because that's everybody's, that's why there's so many different options out there, is because everybody has different preferences.
I will say this: if someone did come up to me and ask, "Hey, what deck do you recommend?" I would recommend Ruby Amethyst.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the most consistent. I mean, if you're brand new to the scene, it's shockingly on the cheaper side of decks these days. It's been consistent throughout all of the different sets.
It normally doesn't play any legendaries, so...
Yeah, recently it definitely hasn't. But yeah, that's a good one to get some experience on, because it is a very, very powerful deck if you're good at it. But anyways, yeah, so I just had to kind of tease him a little bit on the podcast and give him his answer out.
Is it also Zach with an H?
If I remember correctly, yes.
Okay.
Okay, card of the week. This is a fun one, exciting, even super fun / exciting, because we're moving on to Shimmering Skies. Like we said, we're closing the chapter on set 4. There is, tomorrow is the start of the last weekend of championships, but by the time this comes out, like, basically chapter 4 is wrapped up at that point from a competitive perspective, and so no point in like kind of rehashing the current cards and meta. So why not jump forward? And we have one that I'm super excited about.
We picked this one together. So who's going to talk about it?
Go for it. You got to pull it up, so you might as well.
All right. So we got Pete, referee in Steel. He's a 3-cost inkable, 3 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 1, and ability Whistle. When you play this character, opponents can't play actions until the start of your next turn.
Can I say Steel Song is back, baby?
Steel Song. I mean.
It clearly never left.
It clearly
never left. I tried to play it at League Tuesday. I lost. It didn't work. I've clearly lost that touch of myself. But that's neither here nor there. We picked Pete. It was part of my choice because I've been saying this for a while, that I want a card that stops like characters on play abilities, or kind of like freezes abilities / actions that can happen to you for the next turn. And this is definitely, I think, the closest that we'll get to that. So your ability to like really go wide and put a bunch of pressure on there and then slam him down basically freezes the game state for a while, because there's no character that like does an AoE damage, for my gamers out there, that does a lot of damage across the board aside from Tinkerbell, and she's not killing very many people.
Only thing I could think of is maybe, and I've thought about this, maybe a BOGO style. Chief BOGO.
Yeah, I mean, again, like that's one, but that's like one card. That's one damage to everything, and so it's not enough unless you're playing like Hyper Aggro, Lilo, Maleficent, Chernabog, in that realm, or not Chernabog, Curse Merfolk. Like you're not getting a ton of value from it. Yeah. So, anyways, I think the ability that Pete has is going to be a meta-defining card for sure. I like, Sans Ursula Deceiver, like from set 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's 3-cost inkable. That's, I think, the biggest piece to me, besides the ability itself.
It's insane. I mean, it's not a massive quester, but it obviously doesn't need to be. Like it buys you a turn. Like think about how many games that we've played, and not necessarily like me against you, but just in general, we've played where you're like, if I had one more turn, like he gives you one turn. Like he keeps your board from getting cleared for one turn. He keeps your board from being, highly damaged for one turn. He keeps your board from being B-prepped for one turn. Like he gives you a turn. Like he's basically a cheap version of Kita, except Kita doesn't stop actions. It just stops the current board state from doing anything.
And the thing is that next turn, at least, he can't get killed by an action. Like he can get Medusa'd, but if you play him turn 3, which you're probably not necessarily all the time. But I mean, you can't use a smash or a strength of raging fire.
So you can bounce him back. Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm just saying you can't because of his ability. Like
yeah, but nobody can. That can't happen to anybody on the board. That can't happen to Ariel.
He gives himself ward for a turn, and almost everyone else.
I mean, I guess that's a good way of saying it. He basically does give everybody ward because you can't play actions on them. Well. Action ward, because you can still get Medusa or whatever, like you said. But I think it's insane. I think it's going to be a meta-defining card for sure. I think the ability to do that, to protect your cards, I think it buys, like I said, long story short, it buys you a turn. It gives you another opportunity to, play something and then play a dime down or play whatever it is to like close out the game. It gives you a turn to, like I said, go wide and not grab your sorted or get be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's just a ton of potential behind it. So
I think this is worth mentioning as well, but he's uncommon. So he's going to be cheap.
Yeah, that's going to be insane.
Common to pull. So.
Yep. Okay. News. What's on our mind? League recap. All the above. I mean, I think Shimmering Skies is obviously the easy answer there. But yeah, I think I don't know if I think we've talked about this a little bit, but our league is like growing like crazy, and it is so cool to see.
So I haven't been since
it's
grown.
I was about to say, and you haven't been there in forever because you've been out of town, and you've just been like living your best life.
No, I've been sick.
Well, recently, yes, but before that, you were out of town.
But yes, I missed the first week because I was out of town. Then the last 2 weeks I missed because I was sick.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's kind of cool to see. We've got a ton of young kids. That's really fun to see getting people into like parents and kids.
Nice.
Like we're getting to like kind of a 2-pod league where the parents come and they bring their kids and then all the kids play together. Nice. And then the parents play. And so I think it's just good to see a lot of growth and to see the continuing fostering of the scene. And along those same notes, I have to mention we've gotten the new set champion promo for set 5. It's Maribel. If you want to see it, obviously you can look it up. But the most important note I want to do for that is they have extended the prizing card to top 8, which I think is fantastic.
I think now I'm sure there's collectors out there that won't love this.
Yes, but this isn't a collector's.
I think it's perfect.
It's insane because
I got to top 8 3 times and I lose my first top 8 match. And so, knowing that like now I could have cards for that instead of championships cards, getting that top 8 cut is actually worth something.
There's a lot of heartbreak getting to top 8 and losing. Like it's happened to me 4 times.
It's happened to me and my brother quite a few times, and it stings.
It does. And now you're right. From a collector perspective, it's obviously bad, but I want to grow this long term. I don't want this to be a short term like flip on a card.
And the reason I say it's the negative is because that's the only con I can possibly think of with this. Yeah, everything else is positive.
And then they said longer term they're going to change the pricing structure going into next year. So my bet would be that top 8 get non-foil versions of the promo, kind of like you see at the DLCs.
Gotcha.
Again, total speculation on that front. I would bet you get non-foil versions for top 8, foil versions for top 4, and mats for top 2. I don't know if that's true or not. I, again, have no insider knowledge, but that would be my expectation given that that's what they do in the bigger events. But I think that this is like the set championship should be a stepping stone to the challenges and to like the real big competitive events. Mm-hmm. And this kind of like fosters that. It gives people an incentive to come out and try and play, and creates more of a happy environment because more people can win. Maybe people that didn't necessarily expect to do well squeak into the top 8. Mm-hmm. They get a card, they get rewarded for it, and so that keeps them around for long.
Because that's the thing, top 8. I mean, it is a reward in itself, but it doesn't feel like it.
If you lose top 8, it definitely stings.
Getting to top 8 is just more pressure, in my opinion, to get to that top 4.
In today's world, yeah, for sure.
So now getting rewarded for making that top cut, yep. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
I think it's fantastic as well. So, yeah, I think that's all really good things. I guess we can talk about. No, we'll talk about the Enchanteds next in the Shimmering Skies preview episode that we do.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's just been a lot of great news coming out recently. Mm-hmm. The one news this is leading into the main topic that I wish we had is where Worlds would be, or where I keep calling it Worlds, where international or the national championships are, and what the timing of all that is and everything, because I actually have a really vested interest in that now.
Coincidentally, you do, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into it. But
all right.
We're now like 6 days removed from the challenge in Fort Worth, and yeah, it's been a ride. Like, it still doesn't feel real.
So this is interesting because we haven't talked about this much. We've only exchanged a few texts.
So ask away if you have questions or whatever you want to know. Like,
so Okay, let's talk about arriving, like the overall vibe of getting there. You got there Friday, right?
Yep, Friday early-ish.
All right. So what was the vibe? You obviously went with a big crew. We got a big crew.
Yeah, we had at our we're like a 4.5 5 hour drive away from the location, and so there were, gosh, between like our local scene and the scene that's like 45 minutes away, probably 20, maybe more, maybe like 22ish. And so yeah, I mean, ran into everybody the second I got there. A couple people were playing the events on Fridays or on the Friday. The one negative I will say, and it wasn't a super negative, but in Atlanta it was like one massive room. All the attendees, like all the side events, were in the same room as the main event, and so like everybody was intermingling, and attendees were there, and it wasn't a big deal. And this one, the first day, like the attendees had a room for all the side events, and the main event was in a separate room, and they wouldn't let everybody like intermingle. Halfway through the second day, that wasn't the case anymore, and so I don't really know what changed. I wasn't stuck in any way, and so I wasn't paying attention to it. I just know that we had a couple friends that only had attendee badges, and they weren't allowed in at first, and then like halfway through the day they were in and out just fine. So that was a little weird, and that happened on Friday as well. But yeah, I mean, the vibes Friday were hopeful, excited, fun, ready, pumped, all the above.
Did you sleep well?
No, awful.
Okay.
Awful. Well, Friday night I slept.
Yeah.
Friday night I slept okay. I wouldn't say great. But
I know how it went Saturday.
I wouldn't say I slept great. I mean, I went to bed a little later than I wanted to, and I woke up a little earlier than I wanted to. But overall, it was decent, I would say. So normal like excitement and jitters of the night before a big event, whatever it is that you're doing.
So can we talk a little bit about your deck as well?
Yeah, we might. I mean, we can definitely. I think it's probably a good place to start with that.
Yeah.
So, I was on the Sapphire Steel No Wheel list. So
right.
I took the Whole New Worlds out. I named the deck on Ink Decks.
I saw it.
On Ink Deck / Dreamborn. My wheels fell off.
Oh, it was different.
What is?
When I looked at you on the deck list, it said Cogs and Friends.
Yeah, that's just like that on Ink Decks. That's just like the archetype that they give it. They have it grouped into like archetypes. But it was my wheels fell off.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, and shockingly, like this was a very last minute change. I didn't really practice the deck at all, but my thought process behind it was a Whole New World into Emerald Steel is like very, very, very situational. Like you really only want to do it on 5 because if you're doing it later than the game, then you're giving them a ton of resources. And if you're giving your opponent a ton of resources later in the game when they have the hand that they do, they probably just discard your whole hand anyways, and then it wasn't really worth the Whole New World because they've got a bunch of cards and you don't. So when I was playing a Whole New World, I rarely played a Whole New World into the Emerald Steel match. In the mirror match, the first person to use it usually loses because you lose a little bit of tempo. If you're singing it with your Cogsworth then dies, and then you still have a Cogsworth on board, and so I hated it into the mirror. Same thing with Ruby Amethyst. I know it has the most impact into the Ruby Amethyst matchup, the Whole New World does. But again, I think it's so situational that if you have 1 or 2 in your hand and it's a dead card, and you're trying to find like the right time to do it, then you're probably losing. It's a tough matchup to begin with. And I don't feel like it gives you that much of a leg up. And yeah, so I just decided let's get more powerful bodies on board and deal with, bigger and badder beings so that you have more people that you have to deal with. And that's exactly what I did. So I went, took out the Whole New Worlds, and I went with Hades and Simba, the big Simba, the 7-cost one that does 2 damage on play, kind of like Tinkerbell.
I saw that.
I have to say shout out Alphos. I don't know how many people that listen, watch / listen to him as well. Him and Sky had a conversation on his channel, and they talked about it a lot, and it gave me a lot of like kind of tips on how to think about it. It is a much more resource restricted environment because you're only drawing off of Hiram, and in today's meta he dies very quickly most of the time. So that was a little bit of a getting used to point, but I think I have learned a lot over the past couple weeks to be in a situation where I'm okay with that and knowing kind of how to navigate it. But yeah, I think I went from 31 characters and so basically half characters, half actions / items, to 38 characters in the deck. And so you can see the shift in kind of perspective on like, I want more bodies, I want more people, I want more power, I want more questing, all the above. And so that's what I went with, and that's, it clearly worked out, I would say.
It went pretty well, yeah. So where do you want to start here in terms of...
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one to say. I guess we can just kind of give an overview of day one. Well, before I get into that, I will say, everybody says there's a lot of luck involved. There's obviously a lot of skill. I'm not saying it's all luck or skill. I think there's a lot of both. Going into it, I just said Ruby Amethyst is the hardest matchup, and it can be very difficult to go into. And so my thought process was going into day one and how to kind of navigate the 9 rounds of Swiss was, it's going to be very hard to 2-0 the Ruby Amethyst matchups when you get them. Just win all, since it's a 1-1, you're on the play once, you're on the draw once. Just win everyone you're on the play. If you can 1-1 all your Ruby Amethyst matchups and never drop a full match, then you'll be in fantastic shape. And so again, I think the changes I made to the deck put me in that position because I had more big bodies. I had a lot of more questing power and a lot of capability of just getting in there. That being said, I dodged Ruby Amethyst the entire tournament.
That's
I don't know if I don't think you knew that, or I think we told you all the matchups.
So, but I knew day two.
But I think we told you the matchups day 1 too. But again, I think when you're just like following along, you don't take a step back and like conceptualize like, oh my god, he dodged it the entire day. But yeah, so very lucky from that regard. I will admit that there is some amount of luck that's involved with this and getting good matchups, and taking advantage of that. And so I was very lucky. I dodged the matchup I didn't want, and I took advantage of it. And so, that's at the end of the day what you're trying to do. And, I capitalized. And so, again, I don't want to run through every matchup, but I do remember them all. So I'll quickly run through it all. Round 1 was a mirror. So Sapphire Steel versus Sapphire Steel. We both won on the draw, shockingly. I kind of bricked on game 2, which was when I went first. And so that really stung to start off the day just because... it is what it is, and you feel like if you're on the play and on game 2, you really have an advantage, and just couldn't close it out. Is what it was. Game 2, it was into Steel Song. When he went first, he kind of had the nuts, Queen, Whole New World, all the removal in the world that he needed to just keep me off the board, and so he won. Like, just know that again, talking about luck and things you can do, just nothing I could have done about that, but I won when I was on the play. So again, I'm 0-0-2. Going into round 3.
I know at this point, because I had a lot of faith that you were going to get that top 64. I did. So when that happened, I was like, oh, that's spotty.
It's not great. It's not great for sure. Again, I am very conscious of the situation and very aware that that's not the way you want to start the day. It's just not, because you want to get you want to get a little momentum. You want to build a little confidence. You want to start feeling good.
Drawing back to back later on in the day is fine.
Yes,
but first 2 matches drawing is not ideal.
It makes it rough for sure. But that being said, I still felt pretty good because winning 2-0 in a mirror match is so difficult. No matter what the matchup is. A little foreshadowing there, if you will. But yeah, so I that one I felt fine about. As kind of as gut wrenching as it was to lose on the play, is what it is. He had the nuts. I still was just trying to keep my head straight and keep my confidence up. So rounds 3 and 4 were both Emerald Steel, both what I wanted to see. I 2-0'd both those rounds. So then after round 4, I'm 2-0-2. So 2 wins, 0 losses, 2 draws. So Emerald Steel, like I said, that's what I wanted to see. And then I think I won the next one as well. No, I take it back. I can't remember I can't remember the exact sequence of it. I remember all the matches, and then I'm pretty sure it was a Amethyst Steel, and I won to that one. So the Amethyst Steel kind of aggro version, and I was just really caught off guard. They inked an Amethyst card and then played like a Churnabox Followers on turn 1, and so I really thought it was Ruby Amethyst. And so then my first 2 turns, I really just inked really wrong, and played really wrong because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And so that one again is what it is. There's only so much you can do. I made a really bad decision early on in that game. Then I back to back, I know I tied again No, I had to have won. I had to have won another game in there because I'm pretty sure I was 3-0-2, and then I tied again twice. That is what it is. So I played another Emerald Steel in there to get to 3-0-2. Again, took care of business on the Emerald Steel, and then after that Amethyst Steel matchup, I went into another mirror. And in that mirror one, let me tell you that I'll give a quick overview on this one. Game 1, I was in the driver's seat like nobody's business. On turn 1, he played Popsicle. On turn 2, he played Fortisphere Popsicle. On turn 3, he played Fishbone Popsicle. So he's got 5 items and has done absolutely nothing. I've got a Smee on the board. I've ramped with my Quill as well. And then I'm pretty sure I had another character because then he played Cogsworth and then he played A Whole New World. So he's got a Cogsworth on board. I killed the Cogsworth with whatever's on my board. I don't remember specifically what it was. But I've got a board. He's got nothing. And then he plays 2 more items. And I saw that in his Whole New World. He got rid of a dime. He's at 10 ink. And I know a Tamatoa is coming. And so he plays the Tamatoa. He's got 2 lore with 7 items. And he's going to get the dime. He's going to quest and get the dime back. And so I was like, there's nothing I can do. I can't kill the Tamatoa. He's going to get 18 lore in 1 turn. And that's exactly what happened. And so, again, mirror things, nothing I could do. I won the next game, so now I'm 3-0-4.
3-0-4.
So I have to win my last 2 rounds of Swiss to go 5-0-4 and to make my way into it.
You have to win 2-0, right?
Yeah, both. I have to win 4 games. I have to win. Like, when I say win, I mean you have to get 2-0. You know, win is 2-0, loss is 0-2, and draw is tie.
Yeah.
I go into round 8, Emerald Steel. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so happy. 2-0 again, taking care of business on the Emerald Steel like I wanted to do. I made a meta call going in. I know there's going to be a ton of Buckies. They had just announced the errata, the death to Bucky. And I had 2 of the opponents that were playing Emerald Steel say I wanted to give Bucky the last hurrah. Mm-hmm. And so there you go. I knew what was coming. And so 2-0 again. Felt really good about it. Nothing super crazy. But, the Emerald Steel matchup did its Emerald Steel things, and I came out on top. Going to the final round, again, got a 2-0 to make the top cut. And guess what match it is?
Emerald Steel?
No. I said foreshadowing before.
Oh.
The mirror.
The mirror.
So we're both in a place where we both have to win both games to win. And so normally in this circumstance, you say whoever wins game 1 will just take the L. You can go on, or both of us get knocked out, right? Mm-hmm. It's either if we had drawn, we would have ended with 43 points. We knew the let it go cut was at 44, and we knew the top cut was going to be at 44, 45. And so we knew that if we drew, there was no reason to do, or there was no going on. Like, we knew if we drew, it was over. That's what most people say. He sat down, didn't say a word. So I didn't say a word either. I won the die roll, went first, saw it was a mirror. I don't remember much of the plays because it's a whirlwind at this point, but I remember I pulled out a relatively close game. And Ariel was the star of the show, I would say, and really got me across the finish line. And so in between games, I say, hey, neither one of us are going to go if you tie. Do you, just throwing it out there if you, want to concede so that so that one of us is, guaranteed to go on. He said, nope, I don't want to do it. I'm interested in playing. And so I said, cool, let's do it. And so I wiped the floor with him this second game. Absolute, genuinely the most lopsided game I had all day long. Obliterated him. I don't remember the specific plays nonstop. I remember I ramped really fast and I got an aerial out extremely quickly. I knew he was on the Whole New World version. I was not. So I got an aerial out really fast, and I had another one in hand, and I had a dime in hand. Jeez. He had more items out, but I didn't care. I had Ariel and Cogs, I know for sure. And so quest for 5 with Ariel Cogs. He can't straight up kill Ariel because all he had on board was a Cogs and a Mickey, plus the resist from Cogs keeps you from dying. So nothing he can do. Next turn, played the dime. Quest to 10. Nothing he can do. Just cannot touch the board because he's got a Cogs and a Mickey out there on board. I don't remember what he played that turn, but it wouldn't have mattered because I had another aerial in hand. But he couldn't have taken the aerial out, and I won 20-0 the last game. The very last game to qualify for the top cut.
Jeez. All right.
And yeah.
Now I think it's worth noting at this point who also joined you in top 64. I think it's worth a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out. So I have to say Cody first. Cody came in 90th. and got to let it go. So he was 1 point shy, unfortunately, of making top cut. He was the one that I put my money in the basket going into the weekend. I said, if somebody's going to do it, it's going to be Cody. I feel like he's definitely one of the top 2 players locally, and is always like super consistent. Shout out Cody. He actually said he wants to be on the podcast, and it was disappointed that we hadn't shouted him out before. And I was like, I swear I have.
How have we not?
I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, shout out Cody. I assumed he would. He came in 90th, so he got his let it go. So good for him.
And say what he was running.
Yeah, he was running Under the Sea. So
he was running the Spice.
He was running the lemon lime aerial Under the Sea, the most aggravating deck I've ever played against. So
his specifically too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then there are 4 of like the 22-ish that made top 64. 4 from our locals made top cut.
That's when I saw that, I was like, no way.
Yeah,
like,
it's like going into Atlanta, the assumption was I'm gonna get the floor wiped with me. I compete a lot locally. There's a lot of good players, but when we like go to the broader stage, we're gonna like get really found out that we're kind of mediocre. It turned out to be the exact opposite. It turns out that like our local scene is amazing.
Like we're stacked, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, we know everyone, relatively well, and it's cool. It kind of feels like a camaraderie in a way. Like,
oh, we were all, and I have to say, and I need to stop and say this now too before I forget. Everybody that was local was insane, like insane. The entire day, like everybody was rooting each other on, like everybody was there for us. When it got later in the day and it was very clear that there were this select few that could make it and the select few that might not, like everybody had our backs the entire day. It's just such a, community driven thing, and everybody was so fantastic about it. And so shout out everyone from the local scene that was there rooting us on and cheering on the people that did make it. Cause it really was like very heartwarming to just be there and to have all that support behind us. My wife was there, which made it even more special to have her there with me. And everybody else just made it incredibly, incredibly special, for sure.
I wish I was there. Real bad. I was trying to do my best to send it the positive vibes your way.
But shout out James. He was, I think, the first person to be able to, I think he was 5-0-1. And then he like ID'd the last 3, I think.
Yeah, he finished 16th.
Yeah, he was super high on the list. And then shout out Matt and Nick from not like the super local scene, but they're always in the set championships and like the Win-A-Boxes and Win-A-Cases and stuff. They're always around. They're like in the 45 minutes away crew in Fort Smith. But yeah, everybody's super, it was close. It was good to see them as well and talk to them, understand how their days went and how everything went. Nick was running Mufasa. I'm going to say that again.
No way.
Nick was still running Mufasa and made top 64.
He was, I was assuming, Ruby Amber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Still running Mufasa. Crazy list. Crazy fun.
Awesome.
Crazy cool to see, too. So, yeah, we had 4 total. And, again, I cannot, stress that enough how insane that is. That 4 of the people that I play against basically on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. I mean, in these last couple weeks, I've played every weekend.
It is, yeah.
At the set championships, made the top cut. So it's so cool to see, and it's so awesome for the local scene. But yeah, so I don't remember everybody else's rank. James was 16th, like you said. I was 43rd, and then I think
Matthew was 58th.
I was gonna say he was really high, and then I think Nick was pretty middle, like close to me too. I think he was like high 40s, low 50s. Okay. So James did really well. The other 3, kind of limped in a little bit from the lower seed, but we made it there. And yeah, so then we're going on to day 2, and we finished at like 9, and so leaving the venue, trying to go to sleep. To your point, I did not sleep at all that night. I could not go to bed, and I woke up at 1 a.m. But it shockingly, I had all the energy in the world when it came time to go that day.
It's just that adrenaline, dude.
Yeah, and I think that I don't want to say a ton about this because I just feel like I'm rambling on now, but the really behind the scenes stuff, I guess, that most people don't necessarily see. Let's talk about this. So that would be cool. So day 2, we went in and we checked in, and they checked our IDs and checked our badges and checked everything and said, cool, you're good to go. And there was a little, roped off spot where everybody would be playing today. And it was really small because there was only, 30 tables to start with, 32 tables to start with. But before that, it was you get there at 8:30 for games starting at 10. And what I didn't realize, because nobody had told me, is you sit down, they give you your deck list that you had registered with, and they say, is this right, yes or no, to make sure that, it is, before they do everything, that you're good to go. And so mine was fine, as expected. It said, cool. They take your deck. They check every card in your deck. You have to, lay it out flat. You have to, sort it out in order, like it has written out on that list, and then put it back in your deck box, seal it in this bag, and then hand it to them.
Wow.
And then so what they said is they said, you are basically consenting for us to have your cards until you're done. And so, you would get the box and bag back. You would play the game. You would put it right back in there and hand it back to them. You did not touch those cards. Wow. So it's pretty cool to see, because it is a very controlled environment. But I guess taking a step back from that, top 64 is an open list, so you know what you're getting yourself into, and you know what your other opponent's playing. And so going into the first match, I knew before I was even at the venue what he was playing in his entire list. I knew it was Emerald Steel, and I knew his entire list. I also knew he had made the top 16 in Chicago, so I knew I was playing a relatively good player. And so that was, I don't want to say intimidating, because I wasn't intimidated. I was very confident, because, again, it was a matchup I wanted. It was a very different list, though, and so I had to think through the way that he was going to play the game versus the way that I know a normal Emerald Steel person would play the game. But, yeah, again, got it in a 2-1 win, so I felt really good about that one. Round of 32, felt fantastic going into another Emerald Steel matchup. Jarrett was fantastic. I remember his name because he was a super awesome opponent, and we had a lot of fun playing the game, and it was probably one of the best matches that I had the entire weekend. So really enjoyed that one, and then went into top 16, got my goal. I don't know if I said that to begin with or not, but my goal for day one was to make day two. Obviously, it's going in, that's my goal. I have a lot of confidence. I'm going to, believe in myself to be able to do that. Going into day two, I said, obviously everybody wants the Mickey, that's, kind of a given, but I said my real goal is to make nationals. I want to be able to compete against the best. I want to be able to, show that I'm there, and I want to be able to be given the stage to do that. And obviously making nationals is how you have to do that. And so I said that was my goal, and I achieved my goal. And so at that point, I have to be really happy with myself. And then I went into another Emerald Steel matchup, and it was a wild list, because he was playing Donald Duck, Beast nonstop. And so he was drawing 4 cards a turn.
He's playing the Zan list.
Yeah, and he had 4 coves, which I thought was a little weird. But he definitely wanted to hit the cove. I saw very quickly that his game plan was to hit cove, put everything in cove, and then keep drawing off of Donald and Beast. And that's exactly what he did. I watched he made it to top 4, and I watched his top 4 matchup on stream, and he definitely didn't hit all the cards like he did against me. But again, he had
his loss was to the winner of the championship.
Yeah. But he beat Sapphire Steel before me too, so he beat 2. So he clearly was teched against Sapphire Steel very well and knew what he was doing, because he played it fantastic. And so again, shout out opponent for taking it home and getting the golden Mickey. But I'm just super excited that I made top 16 and I made nationals, and then I'm able to go compete with a lot of these people that I've followed so far, because it's going to be a really, really fun challenge to be able to go see and to go do and to be a part of. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps up day 2. It was obviously a little bit quicker of a day, but yeah, in between every round, you would put your deck list, your deck box, your deck back into the bag. They would take it, and then there would be a 20-minute break, and then you go back and they'd go set it down at your place, and you'd go sit down in that spot again, get it all back out, and go for it again. And so in between rounds, you could, you'd either know the opponent you're probably going against, and so you could go look at the lists online and figure it out, or at the start of each game, you still had your paper lists as well, and so you'd exchange the paper lists to see what your opponent was playing. Yeah, I'll shut up. Do you have any other questions, or is that?
No, I just wanted to add on a little bit. Day 1 a little bit, but day 2 especially, I was stress eating. The whole and I'm literally texting Michael and your wife back and forth, okay, what's happening? Tell me everything. And it's okay, he won game 1. He looks like he's happy, but maybe not, and I'm telling this to all my family, because we're all watching the streams. We're all zeroed in. I probably gained 100 pounds that day from stress eating. It was so much fun.
It was a wild day for sure. And again, I said this, I mean it to some degree. Honestly, it still feels very surreal. It doesn't feel, I mean, we said from the beginning, like, you know, we want to compete. Like, I have so much fun competing. I don't have the expectations of doing this or to making it like this. And so it's very surreal, but I also kind of feel like a fraud, like, honestly. And I mean, I think I've said this to a few people, but I genuinely do. Cause you know, you think about like all the guys that are online that have like the super consistent results that have, you know, done this for months and months and months now. And so it's just part of me just is like so new to this that I just don't feel like I belong. But yeah,
You belong, dude.
I mean, clearly that's the case because I won, or I got to the place where I wanted to be. But yeah, I have a little bit of imposter syndrome here.
If you're competing in the North American Championships, you've officially made it.
I think so. I mean, I guess that's the case. But
if you're playing alongside the best,
yeah, you know,
that makes you one of them.
I sure hope so. I mean, I obviously want to go in and to nationals and feel good about the meta, whatever it is at that time. I assume it's probably set 6 at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know, but you know, I guess so. We'll take a pause there on like the Fort Worth stuff, but we don't know when nationals are yet. We don't know where nationals are yet, but I'm fingers crossed, toes crossed, you know, arms crossed, whatever you want to say. I want it to be at Disney World so bad. Like, it would be the most epic environment to be played, like, I don't know, at the Grand Floridian's Conference Center. Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't be there, but obviously, you know, that's just like the thing, the most prestigious hotel there. But
so I've heard rumors, I don't know how true they are, but Anaheim Convention Center.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I could see it, but that, well, I guess no, because they're gonna have a huge like event. It's not just gonna be like
it's
just
gonna be like
people.
a Lorcana convention.
Yeah, it's gonna be a huge event. So yeah, I could see that as well. I mean, in California would be fantastic because we have family out in California, so that'd be fun to be a part of there. But I just want Disney World. You know, I think I would love Disney World and love it down in Florida. So
in Disney World, there's like they have the second building in the Contemporary that's like very like meeting base, like
the
big
Bay
open
Towers.
Rooms. Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking in that.
That would be fantastic too. Like have a you know, slog fest all day long, playing Lorcana cards, and then just hop across the street to Magic Kingdom to watch the fireworks to like recharge for the day.
Come on.
That'd be insane. But yeah, so I mean, just I guess, you know, we're getting towards the end here, so just taking a quick step back. I had a ton of blessings in the matchups that I had on Saturday in the Swiss rounds. Took advantage of them. I won when I had to. You know, I tied when it was, you know, a really tough matchup or in a really tough situation. So I can't have any complaints about that, obviously. The last 2 rounds having to go 4-0 and, you know, not drop anything to be able to qualify was very nerve-wracking because it's like, okay. And then going into the last round specifically when it's a mirror. And I said, you know, at the very beginning of the day I had a mirror. And it's really, really, really hard to 2-0 a mirror match. A lot of that comes down to draw luck. A lot of that comes down to, you know, just finding what you need faster, especially in that match. You know, it's who finds the cogs first and who gets down a, you know, a high lore quester. And I was lucky enough to do that. Going into the second day, just, you know, absolutely blessed to be able to, you know, to compete and to try to win some of the matches and to get further on in the list. You know, I think I said like way back when they announced the initial prize cards and kind of structure for everything, I said Cinderella was my goal. Mm-hmm. I got Cinderella, I got Rapunzel, and I also got the Rapunzel playmat. Like, I thought there was no shot in the world that I would ever get a playmat, and somehow I came away with it. And so, again, I mean, I just have to stop and say thanks to everyone that supported, you know, us and myself along the way and been here for the journey, because it's been a whirlwind. And I guess the last question I have to ask you is like, can we say we're beginners anymore? Like, I don't think we can. I think we can.
I mean, I think I can.
No, because you don't give yourself enough credit either. I know you've run into a couple tough matchups in some of your set championships, and again, like I don't even think I mentioned this at the beginning. So we had the recap of weekend 1 of set championships where I won a card on both of them. Weekend 2 of set championships, I lost both. I didn't make a cut, and I came in top 8. Like, how awful does that suck? Like, going into the biggest tournament, like, not with a bunch of confidence.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Like, so my point is, like, there is luck involved. You know, sometimes you get bad matchups. Sometimes you don't get what you want. Sometimes you don't get the cards. It is what it is. But anyways, I don't think I can call myself a noob anymore. I think, like, I have to start embracing like I said, I have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I feel like I have to start embracing that side, knowing that we've put in the work to get to this point.
I mean, maybe it validates our viewers a little bit. Like, hey, you can actually take our advice somewhat seriously.
That's what I'm kind of getting at. Is like, you know, we've said you're coming along this journey and learning with us, but I feel like you can listen to us and like actually trust my opinions
And
in some time now.
I would love to know if there was any listeners that made it top 64 cut. Like that'd be awesome.
So Alex from that we've met a
No
couple
way.
times. No, he was one win away. He was.
No.
I think he tied. I don't remember specifically. I think he tied the last round. So Devin was 1 win away. He tied the last round. Alex was one win away.
They made 128 cut though, right?
No,
they didn't get to let it go.
No, because like I said, you had like they were in the exact same spot as I was. Like win and get it, tie, lose, you don't. And I'm pretty sure they both tied. Or I know Devin, and I'm pretty sure Alex did too. And so I know that there are a bunch of people, and there were like a guy that I played in the set championship on Sunday that I traveled for. I beat him to make the top cut. He made the top 64.
No way.
Yeah, so like everybody around us is insane at this game. Like Alex like wiped the floor with me to begin with and set in one of the winner boxes in chapter 3. And he's in the top cut. Guy from a couple hours away makes top cut. Like it's insane the amount of people that are like pretty good in this area.
Man, shout out to Alex, dude.
Yeah,
like,
he almost had it too, which would have been cool to see. But yeah, so I mean it's a whirlwind. I mean, like I said, I've said it 100 times already this episode. I'll say it again. Like it's so surreal. It's so crazy. Think back on it. It was just so much fun. Like all the support, I said that too, made it just such an incredible weekend. It was so fun. The environment wasn't crazy because everybody was there cheering along. I guess one funny anecdote, so we had the little roped off area in the top cut, and nobody could like go in, and so you couldn't really see the cards if you weren't on the stream because there's a lot of lights and the table, and it's really hard because you're far away, whatever. So there was like 4 of our crew that were kind of like kind of loitering around what was going on, and so I'd like every once in a while like give a head nod like it's going good, or I lost that one, and like shake my head. And so that, I mean, it was just like seeing the excitement on everybody's face when you do that when it's going well is really fun. However, in the last game, there were 4 on stream, and so then there were 4 that weren't on stream, and so there's just not many people left. And I think there was basically a judge for every table. And so I was doing the same thing, like in between games, I'd be like, nah, it didn't go good. And the judge was like, all right, assume you're only, talking to your significant other, but no outside communication. And I was like, oh, sorry, no more. And at that point, it didn't matter because, like, I had lost the first game going into the second game, and I saw that it wasn't going my way, and so I knew I was kind of done. I was like, well, I mean, you can ban me if you want, but this one's already, I've already lost this one, so it's not going to do anything. But so that was kind of a funny one too. But yeah, just thank you to everybody that supported us along the way, and I say us as in everybody that made the top cut and all the local people that made that such a blast to be a part of. But yeah, it was a whirlwind of a weekend.
Man, I love to hear it. It was awesome to be on the outside looking in a little bit. But, man, I'm so happy for you. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. And I guess I should have said this at the beginning, too, but shout out to everybody that's, kind of helped me out along the way. I met Sailor, Sisu on Ice, inventor, creator. Mm-hmm. He was super nice and super, fantastic and amazing. And he gave me some tips along the way as well. So he was super cool. RMB, who was on the podcast previously, he was like elated. I mean, we've connected a few times, and I've met him in person in Atlanta, and he's always been super nice and super grateful. But yeah, I mean, he was like, you got to get to Natties. You got to get to Natties. And when I told, like, it was the biggest embrace of the weekend. Like, it was just so cool to see him excited as well. And so just everybody that I've like looked up to and have gotten advice from and has been there for me to help me along the way. It's just been fantastic. And so not only the local crew, but everybody else I've interacted with. So everybody, thank you for all the support along the way. And yeah, you can actually take our advice to heart now because I have a little bit of credibility behind me.
There you go.
Guess, so
there you go.
But yeah, I think that any last words from your side? I think that's it.
I think it's it, man.
Okay, well, everyone, thanks for listening. Hope you have a little bit of excitement to be along for this ride as well, because we'll take you along when Nationals comes as well to see what happens there. But appreciate the support, and we'll catch you guys next time.
All right, see you guys.